transforming lives, and we recognize that the greatest transformation that takes place is when one has a relationship with Christ who gives them eternal life. That's the greatest transformation that can take place. And so that's October 6th to 8th, Faith United Baptist Church on Blue Hill Road South. Once again, I'll have more information, and we're inviting you to be a part of that BDOC's, Bahamas Department of Corrections Chaplaincy Conference, October 6th to 8th. 433-6917. I'm going to ask Pastor Williams. Type my number in the chat, please. 433-6917. Those of you listening by radio, cable TV, you wish to be a part of that, the Men's March or the conference, you can contact me for further information for flyer. 433-6917. The last thing I want to tell you about a special anniversary gala ball on the 1st of October, Super Club Breezes. That's CC Sweeting High School 50th anniversary, calling all alumni from 1971 all the way to 2021. The honorees will be His Excellency, the Honorable A. Leonard Archer, our former High Commissioner, okay, and the longest serving principal. Also, one of the honorees will be Clayton Fernanda, Commissioner of Police, and the other honoree, Dr. Raymond King, Commodore of the Defense Force. And so this is going to be an awesome time when we look at CC Sweeting, the big dollars we were known. For many of you who in the 40-something, the 50-year-old bracket, you'll know about that. Can any good thing come out of the big dollars? And I say yes. Today we have the Commissioner of Police and the Commodore of the Defense Force. And I believe no school, private or public, can brag with such a feat of having the two top law enforcement officers in the country coming out of the same school, Dr. Raymond King and Clayton Fernandez. So that'll be October 1st, Super Breeze Clubs. Once again, 433-6917. For tickets, you can call me, text me, WhatsApp me, 433-6917. And so today we have another very interesting topic, and I'm inviting you, even while I'm talking, to share the link to invite persons to be a part of the program, whichever social media, and we're hoping to get 1 or 2 calls in that we would be able to share some McDonald's voucher. So I'm just hoping that that would work out. Okay. 326-0271. I'm just looking to see if my co-host is on. Okay, good. She's on, so she can introduce our guest. But right now we have a special time. We call this Moments with Christ with Dr. L.V. McMillan. And then when he is finished, you will hear from my co-host, the lovely Jackie Gardner. She'll introduce our guests and she'll moderate the show from there as I monitor the various social media. Dr. McMillan, all the way down to North America, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Sorry I missed last week, but I had a family occasion, but I'm happy to be here with you this afternoon.
Thank you.
As I reflect on your consistency in adding this portion in your program, I would just like to share with those who are on why this is so. And it may be a little strange to some of you, but if you can accept the concept, then you too will be happy that this moment is included in a program like this. You see, when Adam and Eve sinned, our first parents, their particular sin separated this planet and all of us on it from a 3-in-1 God. Now that's the portion that's missed by many persons. And the 3-in-1 God, the Father, the Godhead, left this planet and everybody on it to the control, power, and salvation of the Son, the second in the 3-in-1 God. And we believe biblically that this plan is still in force today. For Jesus is the Son, and he himself said that no human beings Now, we are human beings on the planet. And so he said that no human beings could get to the Father but by him, the Son. And we understand that for every personal human being, including those on this program, the only way that connection can be made by faith, it's a faith connection, by faith, is by surrendering to the second in the three-in-one God, the Son. And that happens through his Spirit, since he is not physically on the planet at this time. So the reason for having this hour on a program like this is that when points and information and other things are shared, they only have eternal value as they are impacted, carried out, fulfilled through the power of the second in the three-in-one God, that's Jesus Christ. Other than that, it is not eternal, because when a human passes and falls asleep in death, the only way life can continue is through the second in the three-in-one God. Just thought I would share with you this afternoon the importance of this little moment, these few minutes on this program. It is so that everything that is said and done can become eternal through Jesus Christ, the second person in the three-in-one God. Have a wonderful afternoon.
So thank you so very much, Doctor. It's always great to have the doctor in the house. Well, welcome one and all to Transforming Lives. We are just so elated. We are delighted that you're here every Sunday at 4 p.m. It's a beautiful day, indicative of the fact that it's a great day for a great show like Transforming Lives. So we invite you every week. Call your friends, call your enemies. Now, you shouldn't have enemies, right? But if you do have enemies, call them also. Let them know that the show Transforming Lives is on the air. And on this show, we want to see lives powerfully change under the anointing of the Holy Spirit. And we know that God is on the show, so we lift up Jesus. And we also know that knowledge is power. So we also lift up knowledge, give you information that you can make good decisions. So go ahead. I hope you're calling your friends. So today is another powerhouse guest when we have powerhouse topic. So not only we have great guests, but a topic that we think is relevant for this time and this place. My niece, I always use my niece Coco as an example, and she looked at the topic and she said, Auntie, let me see what you're talking about today. And she said, oh, Auntie, that's an important topic. So I'm telling you, it's an important topic. And I'm so happy that we have powerful guests in the house. So we're talking about child sexual abuse prevention and training. And I'm excited about this because we know that child sexual abuse is something that we definitely want to avoid. We would love to see a decrease in that particular area. So to have great guests dealing with that, but not only are they talking about the prevention, which is always important. You know, we're taking a proactive approach as opposed to just talking about what we do after it has happened. These young ladies, and I'm calling them young ladies, they're in the house declaring decree that the best time to deal with this topic is talk about the prevention before it happens. Let's stop it from happening. And they're also talking, listen what they're putting together. Prevention, right? They're going to be talking about that. And they're going to be talking about training. So they're coming fully equipped, training. They want to empower persons, other persons, that they have the information, the knowledge, they can spread it around and prevent this and cause a ripple effect around the world, not just in locally or in Bermuda, where some of our guests are from, but around the world. So let me quickly get on to our show because they have great information to share, and I'm just excited about it. So first, our number one guest, no stranger to the show. Always great to have her for the show. Love to hear her support. And I'm glad that she's spreading it with our guest, the lovely Miss Rivers. But coming to the show is Miss Siobhan Cash Hollis. She is the president, big position, and co-founder of Save Our Children Alliance. And we're going to hear a little bit more about that organization as we journey through the show. Secondly, we have with us Mrs. Debbie Ray Rivers, and she is we come loaded. She is the executive director and a founder of SCARS Bermuda. So all the way from Bermuda, just to be on the show on this beautiful Sunday. Ladies, welcome to the show, Transforming Lives.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, Ms. Gardner.
Yes. Such an honor. Thank you so much.
All right. So we are here to talk about child abuse prevention and training. So I just want you, why is it necessary? So I'm going to start with Ms. Rivers. Why do you think it is necessary for us to, because some persons will be like child abuse in our beautiful Bermuda. I've been to Bermuda, beautiful country. The Bahamas, a beautiful country. And we have places around the world. Why is it necessary for us to talk about child abuse? Why is that necessary?
Well, thank you so much again for having us. It's necessary because children, I think we can all agree, are the greatest in God's kingdom. There is nothing more important than, I believe, the greatest gift we can give them is the gift of innocence. And SCARS exists in our country in Bermuda, which stands for Saving Children and Revealing Secrets. We exist to break this silence and secrecy around child sexual abuse. And because this topic is very taboo. It's usually born out of secrecy and isolation, and it harms children. It causes trauma, and it is vitally important that we break this silence, and that we do that through educating adults and how best to protect little children. And so I think to answer your question is because, based on your program and children are the greatest in God's kingdom in his eyes. And it's just very important that we keep them innocent for as long as possible.
Oh, I love that. Innocent. I love your explanation. A great explanation there. SCARS, can you once again repeat? That's interesting. I love, what's the meaning of SCARS?
So SCARS stands for Saving Children and Revealing Secrets. Many times the sexual abuse of children is a secret. Most children don't tell that they have been used for someone else's sexual gratification. They keep it quiet for many years. And when we reveal, we can begin to heal. And so I'm happy to tell you why I felt the necessity to start this nonprofit in Bermuda.
Please do so. I'd love to know that. And I'm sure my guests would also love to know. My audience would also love to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So SCARS was actually born in Bermuda, October 27, 2011. And it was founded out of a personal tragedy. In 2004, I discovered that both of my little girls, ages 9 and 10 at the time, were sexually molested by a 78-year-old trusted family member. I'm going to say that again. He was 78 years old. He used their little 9 and 10-year-old bodies to gain sexual gratification for himself. He wasn't only a 78-year-old trusted family member, he was a devout church member. He attended Sunday service every week. He tithed. He sometimes even gave closing prayer at the church I was raised in. In fact, he was actually teaching my now husband and I the book of Revelations in the Bible while he was using my children to gain his own personal gratification. But But I think we can all agree that knowing doctrine and theology may not always mean knowing God, right?
Absolutely.
And as a Christian myself, I just don't think we can say that we know God, love God, and have an accurate view of God and be sexually attracted to children. It's an oxymoron, right, Jackie?
Cool.
And so in my personal view, genuinely loving God's little ones really requires doing everything we can to protect them. It was the darkest day of my life because I was shocked. My children, when they went to their house, I thought they were safe. I mean, not only was he a close, trusted family member, a step grandfather, but he was also, like I said, somebody who claimed to know God. We just cannot say that we know God, love God, and have an accurate view of God and harm children. It's just an oxymoron.
Wow.
You know, and it actually really messed up my daughter's faith. You know, she was a little girl and she told me years later, like, you know, I love Jesus, but when I was abused and I cried out to him to make it stop, it didn't stop. She was abused at his hands for 4 years. So, you know, she just grew up thinking, how can I believe and trust in a God that didn't save me? And it's taken me as her mother over a decade to try to get her faith back. And so it's not quite there, but I'm really working hard to get it back. You know, being sexually attracted to young girls and boys it's an affliction, and it must be taken very seriously. And sadly, people who harm children, 90% is somebody that you know, love, or trust. And many times it can be a family member. It can be someone in your family. And so, you know, we have to take it serious because it can change a little child's life forever. And it can cause them to question God. Where is God? Is there really a God, right? So I don't think our Heavenly Father, creator of this magnificent universe, takes it lightly when we interfere and mess with a child's faith. Because God says in his word, let the little children come to me, don't hinder them. And so, you know, it's just so important that we teach adults everything we can so that our little children are protected. And they can grow up healthy and whole, because sexual abuse causes trauma. It just does. And that scar can look different for different people.
Wow, that's, I mean, such authentic sharing. Thank you for being so authentic in your sharing. I'm sure what you said resonate deeply with many persons who are listening to our program. I've done show about sexual abuse, but you just for a second, you know, you might have seen the expression on my face to consider the person was 78, and I'm, you know, it made it crystal clear that these perpetrators, that they can be any age. And so I was just surprised at the age at the moment that you said, very timely comment that you made. I looked at a particular quote, and then we'll go on to Ms. Hollis, but it's just that it's so fitting. It says, there is no greater humanity in terms of children than hurting our children or belittling our children. No greater inhumanity than hurting our children or belittling our children. So now over to you, Ms. Siobhan.
Sure, thank you. Just to add from another perspective of what Debbie spoke about. So in regards to what drew me to becoming an advocate and becoming more involved in this program is that, as you know, I lived in Bermuda. And it was mandatory as a camp operator, which I started, I think back in 2021, that I had taken SCARS training. So my first initial, I should say, contact with Debbie was through her training. And I was so intrigued and so, I would say, enlightened and so inspired and encouraged by that training. I mean, it really, really opened up my eyes. I am not a parent, but I call myself parent to my nieces, nephews, because I will protect them at any cost. So it really opened up my eyes. I reached out to Debbie after the training. I said, Debbie, I don't think this is in my country, and nothing is too good for my country. I am begging you, please, can I line up some folks or introduce you? And even if you train on your platform. So long story short, that's when I met Debbie officially. And I must say to the Bahamas, to anyone listening at the sound of my voice, this Mrs. Rivers, I call her my mentor, my older sister, everything. She has been truly an inspiration to me. And I say that in all sincerity. This lady has really got me into, that's how I got certified as a trainer through her. She took a risk, and hopefully I am, you know, kind of reaping some of the benefits, or she is, by taking a risk on me. And she herself wants to see this program in the Bahamas and want to see that the Bahamas transfer similar to Bermuda. Now, I can speak as a resident now of Bermuda that I have seen the impact that this program had done for Bermuda. And like she said, we all, whether in the Caribbean, whether in Bermuda, we have this taboo, whereas we, for some reason, we feel afraid to discuss sexual, I would say, body parts with our children, or speak of sex on the whole. You know, we just have that. I grew up in a household, you know, I had to learn outside of it, where I was never told really about my body parts, etc. So I had to learn. So I am here today. To anyone that's listening, please let us break that cycle. Let us get involved. Let us get trained. To this date, I'm going to tell you, Debbie, I would say Scars, along with me just lately co-facilitating, we have trained about 79 Bahamians from 2020, April the 6th of 2021, sorry, is when Debbie started to train. And I came here and I said, y'all got to be serious. Y'all got to be trained. And I must say, so much people have been inspired by Scars and Darkness to Light Stories of Children, which is the official program. Also, just to wrap it up on my end with this, I have spoken to many survivors of child sexual abuse. So it's kind of personal to me, as well as it's a passion where, you know, to protect the children of the Bahamas. And I would love to see one day with the Bahamas, you know, have a reduction in that, because anytime I watch, I hear the news, whether I'm here, whether I'm in Bermuda, I am impacted. And people might say, well, you don't live here, but I have nieces, I have nephews, I have nieces and nephews under the age, or I should say of 16, and definitely is impactful. And not only that, I care about children. So that's the most important reason for my drive, for my passion.
Well, thank you so very much. So glad that you're here, Ms. Rivers, and have impacted positively the Bahamas. And like I said, I spoke about that ripple impact, because one person, that's endless. We go different places around the world, and I'm sure that information, that knowledge will not just reside here in the Bahamas. As we travel and interact with people around the world, your message spreads. And it's such an important message. And I just at this opportunity want to pause and just talk about why I so appreciate the fact that you came on with authentic, real life sharing. So it forces me, when you said the word scars, I don't know why, it took me immediately back to my childhood and something that happened in my own personal life when I was around the age of 8, 9. And these scars can be visible and invisible. All right. So I have an invisible to the natural eyes, put it that way, scar on my body, or from my experience. I remember I was around the age of 8, 9, and somebody break into my house and came into my bedroom. And I was in the bedroom with my sister, and I thought actually I was having a bad dream initially. So there was, you know, and finally I came to, and there was a stranger over my bed, right? Reaching over me. Now, I'm only 8 or sorry about that. We're obviously having an internet challenge in the Bahamas. Okay, so we're back. And anytime you're trying to share something that will benefit someone, you're gonna have challenge. I woke up, I thought I was dreaming, but someone was in my room. So I screamed. My mom ran to my room, right? Talking about invisible scars and why this is so important. My mom ran to my room, and of course the person wasn't there. So I'm 8, 9, and she's telling me, my niece is looking at me because she's hearing this story for the first time. She's saying to me that I had a bad dream. because as far as she's concerned, there's nobody there. So my mom went and she checked. It's a bad dream. And she's really becoming, so almost impatient with me because I'm not like, no, mommy, are you sure you somebody was in my room? I assure you. Finally, she went to one of the back doors and she pushed on the door and the stick fell. And she realized, oh my God, somebody was in the house. This is why it's important for us to have this discussion. And sure, there was no real, and that's way back, that's like donkey years ago. Nothing actually, he didn't have the opportunity to move forward. And sometimes this is even worse because I knew that immediately I was changed. Ask me how I was changed, I didn't know. When that trauma hit my body, because my mom took me to the doctor and they was like, she's fine, everything is intact. Not understanding the emotional impact that trauma remained in my body. So I would be crying and everybody would be like, what are you crying for? You're okay. And it took me going into my adult years to recognize actually what happened. And I remember, just like your daughter, having this discussion because I was always this child in love with God. Like, why did it happen anyway? And what was he going to do? Like this whole bunch of questions going on in my mind, but I can't figure out to anyone, like, even as I tried to explain to persons, they're almost like that silence you're talking about, like, be lucky nothing happened. They wanted me to walk into the spirit of, you are blessed, you are fortunate enough. And I'm like, but I don't feel that way as a child. I can't believe it. I don't feel lucky. I don't feel blessed. So it's very important. Going back to prevention, I'd like to say to the men, the women, because women do it also. It's not just for men, that when you touch a child, you can change that child's life almost if God and grace and support don't come in forever. You just don't even understand the impact, because I can tell you that I can trace certain decisions that I've made in my life back to the 8-9-year-old reaching out and trying to find help and nobody even understanding what went down with me, because as far as they're concerned, there was no outward, scars on me. So yes, I wanted to share that because I want to talk to that young girl, and so I want you to share that experience and talk a little about that. You have scars where you have those visible ones, but you have those internal ones. Over to you, Ms. Rivers.
Yeah, so you are absolutely correct, Jackie. Those who are affected as children can have emotional scars, that are representation of pain. But I do also want to say that scars do heal as well. Yeah. It takes a long time, but a scar looks different for depending on the survivor. Some people who have experienced child sexual abuse, such as myself, may become very promiscuous. Sex could be the only thing they feel good, worthy. Every time they have sex, they feel more worthy and valuable. It's not about love. They're finding love in the wrong places. That's like me, many sexual partners. Some people who have been sexually violated as children went down the road of drug addiction, perhaps alcoholism, trying to numb out, escape from what has happened to them so they don't have to remember what happened to them as a child. Some, it may be anxiety, depression, could be anger. The people in their lives, when they told, didn't react responsibly, didn't protect them, didn't believe them, blamed them. I've spoken to many survivors who were told it was their fault because of some outfit they had on. I don't care if a child stands in a room naked and begs somebody to have sexual contact with them. It's an adult's responsibility to protect children, and using their bodies to gain sexual pleasure is not protecting them. And it will cause a scar. It will cause an emotional scar. True. Some survivors said they went down the road of teen pregnancy because they were raped as a child and became a teenage mom. Some went down the road of crime because they're angry. They didn't care about anybody or anyone. Nobody protected them when they were little. Others are going to have to suffer the way they suffered. Betrayal. This is betrayal in the deepest form. When somebody who in your life, whether that be a family member, whether that be a coach, a teacher, a babysitter, a family friend, a family member, somebody who works in a sporting organization, somebody who works in a church, somebody who works in a camp or a club, These are people who are supposed to be people of trust, people in positions of trust. So a little one who is used for sexual pleasure may go through feelings of betrayal. How would I trust, if I can't trust somebody in my life who's supposed to take care of me and teach me and inspire me and protect me, or harming me, who can I trust? That you may go through serious trust issues with people, because the people that you trusted to take care of you when you were little don't do it. Then you may go down that road of not trusting anyone. It may affect your relationship, your marriage. Sorry, go ahead, Jackie.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I said absolutely the reverse of that. Sometimes it could be that they trust the wrong people, right? Sometimes they trust too little, or sometimes they trust not, they have a huge trust deficit. They don't trust anyone. So absolutely. I was agreeing with you. Continue.
Absolutely. These are people that are put in positions of trust. Children were not brought into this world to be used sexually, not to be beaten off of, not to be used for sexual gratification. They were meant to be protected. Every single child who comes into this world is to be loved and protected, not to be used as a punching bag, not to be used for sexual pleasure. Many of them grow up, they don't even understand what happened to them. Many survivors don't even know it was wrong until they get older. And then they realize, wait a minute, this adult shouldn't have been doing that to me. It affects survivors in a different way. Eating disorders, bulimia, anorexia. Food is sometimes the only thing they have power over. Our family has lived through that. I have a daughter who has suffered for many years with bulimia. Food is the only thing. It's a very soothing place for her to go. It can take people to, many say they couldn't focus in school, so they drop out of school. How do you focus in school as a little one when you're being abused at home? It's going to be a little difficult.
Yes. I mean, and one of the things that I can remember from my experience, like I said, the trauma that I experienced that ended up locked inside of me was that inability to sleep. So here I was, imagine this now, I'm a little child, 8, 9, and in my head, I need to stay up at night to watch my home and make sure no one else enters it, right? So yes. I am only going to sleep when it is morning, when I see daylight. Yes. So now I need to get up for school. So it's amazing. And I only going down this because persons don't even understand, for teachers, for leaders, for counselors. Sometimes you might see a boy and a girl and you assume that they are misbehaving in class. They don't have any focus, and you are not. You need to get to the root as to why that child is having problems. Or maybe for me, I became an overperformer. So this would make my problem even deeper because people couldn't see it on the outside. So I was that child that was now the prefect, the good grades. I became very outward, doing a lot of things, but it's somehow fragmented on the inside because there's this part of me that absolutely nobody can relate to. And even when I say that it's hurting, as far as they're concerned, like, you're not hurting, you're doing well. They're telling you, they're talking you out of your feelings. You're this, you're smart, everybody loves you, you're bubbly, and you're trying to say, no, it's over here. So I'm so glad that we're having such a open and honest and authentic conversation. And I'm hoping that somehow we have parents listening and we have leaders listening in, because one of the things I think that a child sometimes loses, just talking about focus, is that intuition, that ability to listen to that inner voice. Even God, the Holy Spirit. I'm so glad that you spoke about your daughter. They don't even know how to trust that inner voice that is speaking and leading them in the right path, because as far as they're concerned, I don't know which way is right.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So there's a lot of challenges that a child that have had such an experience, whether those scars are physical, like I said, physical or emotional, to be really, so I'm glad that we are here to talk about prevention. So I painstakingly took that route to just bring out some of those scars, just so we can now get to why we need to focus on prevention.
Yes, yes. 100%. Because the thing is, Jackie, sexual abuse is preventable.
Yes.
This isn't like a disease that has to happen. The sexual abuse of children is preventable. And in Bermuda, we have seen what has happened in a country that starts educating their community and the adults in their community on prevention. And that is why I brought this amazing training curriculum that was developed by an organization called Darkness to Light. Think about that for a minute. Darkness to Light have a training curriculum called Stewards of Children. We're all stewards of children. And what this training curriculum does that I would love to see your country have, run by Siobhan, who is a trained facilitator in this training, is they teach adults how to recognize abuse, prevent it, and react responsibly to it when a child discloses it, or when it's discovered, or you have a reasonable suspicion of somebody who's crossing the boundary of a child, what to do. And this training curriculum I brought to Bermuda, we started October 27, 2011. I started training the Bermuda community in May 2012, and we've trained close to 12,000 people. 22% of our population of 53,000 have been educated in prevention. And as a result of that, we can see change in our country. And you will be able to see it in your country once you start educating your community, your adults, on how to prevent this. And that's what happens. And Darkness to Light is an amazing curriculum that really helps people understand the seriousness of this and what to do to prevent it, because it is preventable. And now in this country of Bermuda, through our government system, you can't even be a teacher without having this Darkness to Light Stewardship of Children certification training. Teachers are reported to abuse more than any other profession. We want our teachers to be equipped when those children come through that door, because they're there sometimes more than they see their parents. They're in school for all those hours. And we want to equip our teachers. And we have a Ministry of Education that take child protection very seriously. We have a Ministry of Health that take child protection very seriously in this country. And that's what happens when you start educating your community. And you will see that change. When you start educating adults to say, this is not okay. And it will affect our society in terms of crime, health costs, relationships. It affects it. Health and the health of your community. And when you do this from a grassroots perspective, you start seeing change in your country, and the Bahamas can do it. They can do it. So that children grow up healthy and whole. It's so important.
I mean, you've said so much there, so much powerful information. And the thing is, it's something that we really need badly here in the Bahamas. So it's not just that you're introducing it to a country that does not have a need for it, and it's just that you're introduced. It's a good thing to do. We have a big, not just a need, we have a big need in our Bahamas. So I'm going to go to Ms. Hollis and try to figure out, Ms. Hollis, do you have any idea? I know you're in Bermuda and you're working with our government locally here. In terms of the need in the Bahamas, but you have your eyes, your fingers, your pulse and everything, on the Bahamas. Talk a little bit about the need of such a program here in the Bahamas.
Thank you. Well, actually, I'm in the Bahamas at the moment.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm here. I'm zooming, but I'm here. But yeah, to add to, I think Debbie spoke to it intensely. So I have very little to add to that aspect of it. But as a Bahamian to a Bahamian and watching and seeing what's going on back home, we don't have the luxury of not doing anything. I am sorry. We can't no longer kick the can, so to speak, down the road. Mm-hmm. We have to act now. And we have to take risks. Each of us as an adult listening to this program this afternoon, we have to take risks. Whether it's a child that's related to us, whether we know them, whether we have children, whether we don't. It's our moral responsibility. If you remember the last time I was on your show, it's a moral thing to do. So we don't have a choice. If we see something, we have to say something. Now, we don't want to say every adult you see with a child is doing something untoward. However, you would have either your gut feeling or you watch and you notice, and we all kind of have that sort of gut feelings or that intuition that tells us something is not right, right? So we have to act upon that. If I can go back to baby Bella, the child last year that, was harmed and eventually killed. The neighbor suspected something. Now, I know in our country, sometimes you say something, it doesn't, people target you and say, well, why are you spreading news? Or like they say, a snitch. But if we have to be snitches, then we have to be snitches. If it's something that's uneasy and you're feeling, the right thing to do is report it to the police, allow them to investigate. And like I said, responsibly now. We don't want to attack people. We don't want to feel that everyone, like we say, with a child is doing something, untoward or sexually abusing a child. However, when you get that, you just know with this training, I must entreat you, with this training, you are even more so vigilant. Like I can give a quick example. I had my 5-year-old niece in the Bahamas, in Nassau. She lives in Exuma, and her mom had asked me to drop her to an airplane with her friend's boyfriend. Well, the friend's boyfriend had his daughter as well. And I will tell you no lie, as I speak to you today, I was hesitant, even though that was not my child, but I was hesitant. However, with this program and with the knowledge that I have, I did my due diligence. I talked to the young man. I got a photo of him. I say, trust me, I am like the police of children. So I'm sorry if I'm seeming a bit weird. My niece, I educate her on her body parts. She's very bright for her age. She's like, Auntie, do I know this person my mommy is asking me to go with? And I showed her the picture. She knew his daughter, so that was comforting. And I must say, the young man was very responsible. He had no problem. I told him my reasons. I said, I am just protecting my grandniece. So she reached safely. She, everything went well, but that instinct just kicks in. With this program, that instinct kicks in. Trust me, because I took pictures of before, behind, leaving the airport, everything. I don't know if I was overprotective, but
Better over than under.
Yes, my niece called me and said she reached safe because she know my position. She know what I do. So she's like, Auntie, just to make sure you're calm and whatever. She reached safe. I spoke to my niece. I said, are you okay? The guy called me, said, your niece is safe. So I make sure to do my due diligence as an aunt, as the person who dropped her to the airport. And like we say, sometimes you have no other choice but to rely on others. But you got to ensure that those who closest to you, you can attest. Sometimes you just don't know. And we are finding out from studies, from statistics, that people who are closest to the children are normally the ones that we should, have our red flags up in regard. So you could never, I know I said I overprotective, but you really can't, you don't want to accuse everyone, but you just have that instinct that, look here, I have to go into protective mode. Let me ensure who this individual is. So I just wanted to say that bit.
All right.
Can I say something, Jackie?
Go right ahead.
Child sex offenders don't want to get caught. So if they think that an adult in a child's life is asking the right questions and letting them know up front, hey, listen, child protection is very important to me. And my niece or my daughter or my son or my nephew knows that if anything ever happens, they come and tell me. If anybody touches my private parts, I will tell. And that adult in my life will do something about it. Because I'm sure it's the same in your country. Sexually harming children is a crime in this country.
Absolutely.
And I had to do the very difficult thing and report the man that abused my children. This is a step grandfather. It's very difficult to make that report. And 90% of somebody you know, love, or trust. But this isn't about taking care of this is against the law. And if a perpetrator thinks that they're going to get caught, they're going to back away from that child.
I'm so glad that you said that, because we were going to lead into some of the ways that parents, leaders, and so you said one of those that is really, really a big rock one in terms of parents letting persons who, have interaction with their children, first giving the child knowledge, empowering the child to say, no, this is a part of my body you shouldn't touch, because some parents believe that magically they leave it to the school. That first education should be where? In the home.
Absolutely. Early and often. not just
There you go.
one-time
I
conversation.
love that. I love that. I love that you put two important things together. So we're talking about pre and prevention. So that's where we want to do most of our work. We don't want to take all of our energy at the end or the middle. We want to do most of our work here at
Absolutely.
the very beginning before it happens. So I love
Absolutely.
the fact that you talk about talking to our children, and also for parents who, whether it is somebody have to, a bus driver collecting your child on a systematic, let them know I am protective of my child. I will be asking questions. So like you said, they don't want to be found. The perpetrator, when he will choose a different, you don't want him to choose any child, but he's going to look for the easiest target.
Right.
Yeah.
Easiest target. And sometimes even for parents who like to stuff their children feelings, they don't want the child to express himself or herself. So talk a little bit about that, making that child almost like a target, because they want to go to that quiet, silent child who they think would not be believed.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
So I will. So, what we teach in our training is between the ages of 4 and 8, every child who comes into this world needs to know they're special, and they have private, special body parts that nobody should touch, view, or take pictures of. And they shouldn't do it to others, because we know 40% of abuse can be child on child. And many times that's because a child has not been given the proper knowledge on boundaries and their bodies. Let every child know. We want to build their self-esteem and confidence between the ages of 4 and 8, because as you said, Jackie, people who harm children like to target the child that might not tell, that child who's vulnerable. Nobody's paying attention to them, right? So we want to build their and say, regardless of someone does, you come and tell me if anybody makes you feel uncomfortable. Even if I, as your parent, makes you feel uncomfortable, you can tell me. We want to help children find their voice. Years ago, I don't know if you had this in your country, but it was children were to be seen and not heard. Are you kidding me? We are to give our children a voice. And
I grew up with that.
Do you remember that? Did you hear
Yes,
that?
I grew up with that.
Yeah,
because I was a child who liked to express myself.
Me too, absolutely. And we give our children at that age the names of their proper body parts. In my family, we had 3 generations of calling a vagina a Susie. The male part was called Willie, or, I've heard Johnson, Humperdinck. We have to give our children and I did it wrong. And I've said to my girls, you stop it at your generation. We do need to give our children the proper names of their private body parts. We don't have another name for our nose or our ear. Why do we get to the private parts and we're shameful? We're giving it another name. It's called a vagina, or a penis. And we want children to be able to provide the right knowledge to other people in their life if somebody ever touches it. If somebody says, my uncle touched my pocketbook, because you call your child's vagina a pocketbook, that teacher's going to be looking for a purse.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to know that there was some oral sex going on. So you want to really provide your young ones with the proper names of their private body parts. Let them know that they can say no if they don't want to hug. No forced hugging. I did that to my girls, made them hug this relative when we left their house. And then when he got her in a isolated situation, he said, sit on my lap and give me a kiss. And she said, I don't want to. He says, I'm going to tell your mom you're going to get in trouble, because I always made them hug them when they didn't want to, only because he was a respectable family member. I thought hugging was a way of showing respect. So teach our children the affection they give should always be their choice. They can be respectful in another way, but never force your children to hug or kiss anybody, because perpetrators watch out for that. And when they get your child in an isolated situation, they will force them. And they'll say, well, your mommy says you have to give you a hug. So be very cognizant of that. I made a lot of mistakes raising my girls, and I wish I could go back because I didn't see the signs. Let children know the difference between a surprise and a secret. Many perpetrators will say, this is my secret. Don't tell anybody. They don't want to get caught. So they're keeping it. They don't sexually harm children in front of other adults. They're looking for isolated one-on-one. So make sure every situation is observable and interruptible with your children, because perpetrators will look for the isolated one-on-one. They want to keep it a secret. And then as they get older, between 9 and 12, you want every child to know that they're valuable, because every child who comes into this world is worthy. Every single child. So not only are they special and they have private special body parts, but they're worthy. And this is the age that lines of communication start shutting down. So you want to build their self-worth. Let them understand what sex is between the ages of 9 and 12. Because I can tell you, if that message doesn't come from home, they may get the wrong information somewhere else. Let them know that nobody should make them feel uncomfortable. Let them know their body is changing. have those conversations. Books make it real easy. If you're uncomfortable with this conversation, get the books. You know, and then between the ages of 13 to 18, it's really important that every child know they have a purpose. Sometimes trauma's already happened. We can't let whatever's happened to them feel like they have no hope in life because they do. Suicide is another, you know, another spillover of sexual abuse, and let them know that they have a purpose. And what happened to them was not their fault. They did nothing wrong. But the training will teach them great skills, our parents, so that we can pass that on to our little ones. About it, because a lot of it is about making choices. And as Siobhan said very clearly, it's about taking a risk, right? You want to be able to recognize signs in the child, recognize signs in the behavior of the child when they're around certain adults or older people, and also supporting each other when you go through when you have to deal with this. You know, sexually harming children is a crime. It's hard to report somebody you love who has stolen your child's innocence.
My goodness, I'm so interested. I mean, Siobhan is giving information. I'm telling her like, hey, sign me up. Like, I'm trying to communicate, but hey, I am so intrigued by this. It is online, so I'm gonna let Siobhan give us the information how persons can get out. I'm all excited and all ready to, you have me totally convinced we need it here in the Bahamas. So let's tell our viewing audience exactly how they can get involved, when classes start. Give us all the information.
Okay, I will give some, and then I'll let Debbie let you know about her community training. So to sign up from the Bahamas, I provided 2 emails, as I normally would recruit, Save Our Children Alliance, and also you can CC info, INFO, at SCARS, SCARS.BM. And it would get to Debbie, and we could arrange a group training. Now, we tried to do a minimum of 30, so it can be more manageable. We do have a very interactive 3-hour training that Debbie and I do, or it could be Debbie and Helen as well, which is her program manager. So I'll turn it over to back to Debbie to say a little more on that. Thank you.
Yeah, so Siobhan is an amazing facilitator, and the 2 of us, like she said, we've trained, I think it was it 79 or 69 people already. We I've been doing it on my personal time. Obviously, I am committed to my community of Bermuda. We have community sessions, morning, afternoons, evenings, and Saturdays. Now, SCARS raises money in our country, so nobody has to pay for this curriculum. It is a 3-hour curriculum that SCARS provides, because we give our community more than just the Darkness to Light Stewards of Children training, but SCARS Bermuda has to purchase the training information from Darkness to Light in the US. So the Bahamian people have a choice. They can go directly to Darkness to Light and take this powerful training. Darkness to Light does it in 2 hours, and it's virtual. SCARS provides the same training. It's their training, but we also provide other resources in our training, and ours is 3 hours. Now we raise money so nobody has to pay for it in Bermuda. So we've been able to train, our police, our child protective services, our schools, our camps, our clubs, our sporting organizations, because they don't have to pay. Money can be a barrier when it comes to education. And so SCARS wanted to make sure in our community that there's no barrier why somebody wouldn't do this training. We don't think anyone should pay to learn how to protect kids from sexual abuse. But of course, the money that we raise is for our Bermuda residents. So when I've been training the Bahamas, we have to collect a training donation for that, because I'm using on my personal time to do that. And so we charge $20, or you can go directly to Darkness to Light and pay $10. And you sign up through their website, d2l.org. SCARS training sessions and Darkness to Light are virtual. So it's all through the Zoom platform. But if you want to join a SCARS session, on our website, scarsbermuda.com, you go to the tab that says Get Trained, and we provide this 3-hour session to our community. What you do need to do is make your $20 donation first, and then you send me an email, and I will send you the Zoom link a couple of days before the training. Or you can go to, like I said, Darkness to Light does this. This is their curriculum. We're using their amazing curriculum here in Bermuda. Now, Siobhan has arranged for some private sessions for the community of the Bahamas. And like I said, we've done, I don't know how many, Siobhan, about 6 or 7 or
79 to this date. And we have Elutra coming up, Exoma. So it's just spreading. People are paying their $20 because
Yes.
they want to learn. Yeah, so it's spreading.
Yeah, so we have, like we said, we've trained 79, and it's just really through the people that Siobhan has spoken with, to say, yeah, I want to do this 3-hour training. So we're, I'm happy. On a Sunday, we're doing one, like she said, for the Eleuthera in October. Maybe perhaps, November, we set up another one, and try to get 40 people. And Siobhan and I can do that together. But, we just think, we know in Bermuda that education has made a difference in our country with this topic. And what you don't know, you don't know. And it's just so important that you educate your community. I'll tell you this, Jackie. I don't know if you've ever heard of the theory written by Malcolm Gladwell called the tipping point theory. And his theory is, if you can affect 5% of your given population on a certain behavior, you can change behaviors. Well, Bermuda has seen the effects of a tipping point theory work here. When we had trained 10% of our adult community in 2017. We're now at 22%. We could see things change. Laws started to strengthen. Reporting started to go up. Even our survivors understanding that what happened to them when they were little was not their fault. They start their healing process. Parents started talking to their children early and often about body safety. We saw organizations implement best practice safe policies. That's what the training teaches adults who open up their doors to children. Put in some safe policies, put in a code of conduct, ask for background checks. And our laws started strengthening. We have an amazing attorney general in this country who started enhancing laws. We've seen that change because people started getting educated and saying, this is not okay to use children for sex. And there will be a spillover if you do, which is drug addiction, crime, depression, anxiety, people who drop out of school, broken relationships, health issues. That's what happens. And when you prevent that, you're creating a healthier country. And why wouldn't we want that? It should never be okay for anyone to interfere with children, sexually interfere with them, sexually harm them. I don't even like that word interfere. It doesn't mean abuse, sexual assault, but use children for their own sexual pleasure. Children should be innocent for as long as possible.
Totally agree. Totally agree. We're nearing the end. We never have sufficient time on this talk show. But I'm just going to open up. I know there's a comment that the comment back from Mr. Wong said this is powerful, good information. He says he has a group of 160 persons who would love to be a part of this initiative. A comment, MG Rebirth is definitely, that's the organization I'm the president of. I know that is something that we definitely would love to be involved with. So this is amazing. I think it's a beautiful day to share such powerful, life-changing information. So we want to really thank you. And I want to just entertain one question, just in case there's one particular question in the group. We don't want to close. We always try to give our audience the opportunity to maybe a question or a comment. Just open up your mic very quickly. Do we have one comment before we close? I see a comment.
Jackie.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, we can go on for another 15 minutes on the radio. We have an extra 15 minutes on the radio, okay?
Oh, okay. Thank you so very much, because you can see me rushing totally along. I realize the time is after 5. So yeah, we're back to so my niece made mention of the fact, Ms. Hollis, like, you love your, so she watched the show and listens to the show. I'm coming to you, Apostle. So you love your niece like how I love her. So, and I'll fight for her. She's right on the side here saying, Auntie, you will fight for me. So she knows that I'll go the whole long yard for her. So let's go to Apostle Clement. I think you have a question.
Actually, well, a blessed good afternoon to everybody. I would love to commend.
Yes.
I love when God have mercy on us and grant us instructions that will enable us to be a better people. Now, the Rivers do not know that we think very highly of the Bahamas, that God has a special favor towards us to use us as an example to other nations of the world. So we are very grateful as we watch God grant us this favor to have this
Yes.
experience
Yes.
with God, I bless you. This now important information. And I could say to her and the other sister that the change is already in motion in the Bahamas in regard to this, because we have to understand that God is always in advance.
Yes.
So he just give us manifestation today, but he already
Yes.
is at work. And I want us to accept and use the word revolution.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
add that topic. The revolution is on concerning the protection of our child. Whatever the topic is, just add that word revolution, because truly I am in agreement, and I know many others are in agreement. And I thank God for this afternoon in a special way. And I really appreciate the sacrifice that both of you sisters is making for this to be possible. God has blessed you, and he'll continue to bless you as you stand in righteousness unto his honor and his glory concerning let the little children come to me. Thank you.
So much. We couldn't close without that comment. Roger, I see you. Mr. Bain, you're next. You can unmute your mic. Oh, sorry. I thought, Roger, I thought you had your mic open. I noticed. Okay, so thank you so very much. Well, we're almost there now. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think he have a question and a comment, Ms. Gardner, for Debbie.
Okay, I was looking for it. I thought he had.
You can see it?
No, I can't see it. I thought, okay.
Okay, I can read it out if you don't mind. He said, good day, everyone. Much thanks for an educational, powerful show. Debbie, with such a small population in Bermuda, how is the conviction rate? Is there a sexual register list in the Bahamas? Okay, so 2 questions. How is the conviction rate, and is there a sexual register list?
Yes, so thank you so much. We have had mandatory reporting laws in this country long before SCARS, And so what the percentage is, I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. A few years ago, we heard that the reporting had gone up about 125%. And the head of the Department of Public Prosecution said a lot of that was, can be attributed also to the work that SCARS has been doing in terms of training and awareness. We have a lot of historical cases coming to the courts because this is the problem. If we don't report, offenders stay out there. They don't just abuse one child. I can tell you that, not according to research. This is an addiction. It's an affliction. It's a problem they have. They don't just wake up one day at the age of 70 and decide they're going to be sexually attracted to a child. If you think about that, that's an illness. It's a very dark place, and it has to be stopped. But now reporting, I believe, is on the increase. I mean, not through COVID because, we were in isolated situations all over the world. But in terms of a sex offender register, we do not have a public sex offender register in this country. That may be because of, some vigilantism, or we're a very small country. Many people know each other, 53,000, many of us are related, and so, but what SCARS has done is we have put any case that has been in our local newspaper, a convicted pedophile goes in the newspaper, we put it on our website. So we have all the cases, we put it by the year, but it's only what's been reported in the press. I'm allowed to do that. And so it's on the SCARS website, Predators. And we have, the other thing we do is we have been really pushing for mandatory background checks. And any organization who opens their doors to our precious children must, and we want them to do a background check. This says whether somebody has had a conviction, and sits on a convicted sex offender list. But I will tell you this, sexual assault runs 3 generations in my family. So it's the part that you don't know about. I started SCARS because because of my children. But sexual assault runs 3 generations. I'm the product of rape. I don't know who my biological father is. I was sexually abused as an 8-year-old little girl by a 25-year-old male babysitter. And a couple of years ago, the 25-year-old male babysitter who sexually used my body for his gratification showed up for a SCARS training. Sex offenders come to trainings. They don't walk in a room with a sign on their head that says, I have suffered with sexual thoughts of children. They don't walk into families with that sign on their head. They don't walk into youth serving organizations with that sign on their head. And we know that nobody has 20/20 vision into the human heart. He came to a SCARS training because he was mandated to come to a SCARS training. Our Department of Health, our government, we have an amazing government. They mandate that if you're going to work with children in a daycare center, preschool, nursery school, you must not only do all the other, CPR and all the other things, but you also must have a SCARS certification. And so in order for him to help take care of children in his daughter's home care setting, he had to attend a SCARS training that I was co-facilitating. Make a long story short, after the training, I paid him a little visit. And I at first I had a meltdown, ran out of the room. We can still be affected 45 years later by people who harm us. But anyway, I came back to the SCARS room, realizing that he has no more power over me. And then I went to see him. And when I got to his home, and I'm telling this for a reason, when I got to his home, I went with my co-facilitator, 2 of us. And I asked him if he remembered who I was. And at first he said no. And then I reminded him my maiden name. And then he remembered me. And I said, do you remember what you used to do to me when you used to babysit my little brother and I? And he said, yes. I said, you sexually molested me. He said, I did. I said, how old was I? Because I thought I was 9 or 10. He said, you were 8. I said, how old are you now? He said, 72. I said, so you were about 25 or 26 when you used my little body to your own sexual pleasure. You were there to babysit me. And he put his head down, and about a minute, he put his head up and he looked me right in the eye. And you know what he said to me? You wanted me to do it. He actually blamed me as a little girl. And I said to my co-facilitator, this meeting is over. And I got in my car and I called our police and I made a report. And I had to go through in a courtroom 45 years later. I didn't do it out of revenge or retribution. I did it to protect children in that home care setting, because now he wants to take care of kids. And he's blaming me for what he did to me. Well, guess what? He now sits on a convicted sex offender list in Bermuda, and he can't take care of children. He's not allowed to work with kids. That's why I reported him. We don't report out of revenge. We report to protect children.
I just want to thank you for that. That was powerful. I mean, I'm sure everybody else was moved away. I thought the story would have had a good ending, because in my experience in prison, I've had opportunities where persons who are actually perpetrated violence against others actually met with the actual victim. And I thought it would have ended in a good way, like those stories I encountered in prison, but that did not end so that way. But I just want to publicly thank you on the radio. We could continue on Zoom for another 15 minutes, but we have to sign off. The other guests are in the studio. Folks, you've been listening to the program Transforming Lives on Global 99.5. Cable TV 974. Also, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on Zoom. I end the program the way I always end, but before I do, I want to thank my guests. Jackie, share some final remarks, because she asked me to come off the radio just before we leave. Jackie, go ahead. What closing remarks you want to say?
Well, knowledge is power. We've been given information, good information. We should be powerful people now. Move to action. Please move. Please sign up.
Okay, folks, yes, I want to thank our guests, Debbie Ray Rivers, also Siobhan Hollis, who have done numerous programs with us. We've gotten to build a good relationship. I didn't know she was still in Nassau, so I have to try and reach out to her tomorrow. You've been listening to this program. Thank you, Dr. Macmillan, all the way down in North America. On the program Transforming Lives, my co-host Jackie Gardner. We end the program the way we always end it, by reminding you that there's nothing more important and having a relationship with Christ, not a church, not a denomination, but a relationship with Jesus Christ. Dave Williams, Jackie Gardner on the program Transforming Lives on Global 99.5. Quickly want to remind you, upcoming September 24th, a men's march. I'll tell you more about that. Wish to be a part of it? Contact me at 433-6917. Ask Pastor Williams or Jackie. Type my number in the chat. Also, there's a chaplaincy conference coming up October 6th to 8th. You get to hear more about that next week. We're inviting you to be a part of it. You want to learn with prison ministry. You wish to be a part of prison ministry. You wish to get some training as to how also you can offer services to persons incarcerated. 4336917, Prison Chaplaincy Conference, October 6th to 8th. Last but not least, the 50th anniversary of the C.C. Sweeting School. Jackie, you didn't go to the Big Doll House. We were known then as the Big Doll House. No, I've not been out of school 50 years, but it's the 50th anniversary of the C.C. Sweeting School. His Highness A. Leonard Archer, the longest serving principal, will be the honoree, along with the Commissioner of Police, Clayton Fernando, and the Commodore of the Defense Force, Dr. Raymond King. Yes, they all were members, alumni of C.C. Sweeting. Can any good thing come out of the Big Doll House? I say yes, and of course myself and many others. That's October 1st, Super Club Breezes, 433-6917. Dave Williams, Jackie Gardner, transforming lives, Global 99.5, cable TV. Have a wonderful day. You can join us on Facebook, Zoom, and YouTube as we continue. Thanks.
Well, I know that this is Sunday and this is the day when we have all our chores to do. So Dave is trying to extend this time even for a greater time. You've already been very gracious with us, Ms. Rivers and Ms. Hollis, 15 minutes after 5. And so as a woman, I understand and recognize when you have many other things to do. So I'm just going to give anyone in Zoom the opportunity just for one question before we conclude. We would hate to conclude without you asking your question. So very quickly, if there's another question or comment, please feel free. I see Mr. Williams. Oh, okay, you're just signing back in. Well, if not, I'm Dr. McMillan.
Okay, thank you. Before the folks go, I'd like to ask if there is any part of the training that upholds the value of sexuality. What I mean by that, well, let me come from a personal standpoint. There's no problem with sex. The private organs that they were talking about was created by God. It has its place. But I'd like to know if in the training there's something that says that to these children from the beginning. They must not see this private part as, in my opinion now, as something abnormal or what have you. I mean, I believe that sex is the most beautiful thing that has been placed on the earth. The enemy is against it. And if a child grows up with the wrong view of it, they can't have a happy marriage. They can't even begin to see the value. So what I would say or ask, if there's any balanced approach to this as something good that has its value on this planet.
Well, I'd be very happy to answer that. Darkness to Light and Scars do not teach children. We teach adults. We want this message to come from home early and often about what everything you said means. That is not going to be taught to children. It's going to be taught to the adults in their life because it is not a one-time conversation. And you're absolutely right. And that's why it is so important that we teach adults how to protect children, because if not, that will be ruined for them when they become adults, because God never intended it to be for children, ever. But yes, the human body is beautiful, and it was meant to be between two consenting adults, never, ever interfering with a child when it comes to sex. So Scars doesn't teach adults, we teach parents. And we first teach them the facts about sexual abuse. We teach them how to minimize the opportunity. We talk to them about talking about this issue and how to recognize signs and how to react responsibly. But we want that message to come from home early and often because it's not a one-time conversation.
Okay, I think I heard you. And that's the impression I got. So what I am saying, that there must be in your course to parents what I just mentioned, lest there will be a different kind of scar. And you believe me on this. I am 80 and plus, and I've had many, you know the word frigid? I've met many persons because of the parents where they grow up to be frigid and they
Yes.
cannot fulfill their role in
That's
a
true.
home.
That's
So I'm
true.
asking you in your course to adults that certainly be taught to children, that
Mhm.
there is a proper place for that private part and in a relationship of high honor. That's what I want to say.
Yes, high honor with another adult. That's what's
It
important.
doesn't matter. It starts with the child, the adult to the child. I'm only talking about the positive, you know. I am with you 201%. But if it is one-sided, then you're going to have a double problem with frigidity. And listen to me, I have met it, and there's nothing you can do because mama or auntie or my teacher taught me this. And oh my, I tell you, we must have both. I mean, both.
Yeah. And you know, Dr. McMillan, you make a really good point. We have to heal our adults too, because if we have adults who have been scarred as children, it's very difficult for them to pass on that information. And I don't know about in your country, but we have, according to our research, 1 in 3 had been sexually abused residents of Bermuda before their 18th birthday. And when you have scarred adults, it's very difficult then to pass on information that will help their children because they're still healing from their own childhood pain. So we need to get our adults healed so that they can do that. You're absolutely right.
Wow, powerful. I'm so glad that we got that comment. I absolutely supported 1,000% if it's such thing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, so glad to have you. We want to say a big thank you. Ms. Hollis, I can start with you. Thank you for bringing on such an esteemed guest like Ms. Rivers. I mean, the information has been powerful and impactful, relevant, authentic. I can go on. So thank you so much, Ms. Rivers, for gracing us with your knowledge and your presence. And please return to the show, Transforming Lives. We would love to have you back. And to Ms. Hollis, thank you. You've become now like a family within the family of Transforming Lives. Continue to bring guests like Ms. Hollis, Ms. Rivers on the show. Thank you for
You
your—
are welcome. You are so welcome, Queen.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Hollis. Once again, thank you everyone for being on the show, to all our faithful followers, to our technician, and everybody, to the one and only Mr. David Williams. Thank you so much, and do enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye, everybody.
Thank
One
you.
last question.
I need to see if my guest will entertain you with one last question, Ms. Rivers. Okay, she said that's fine. Okay, go right ahead.
Um,
Go ahead. Go right ahead. All right.
Sexuality.
I think you're having an internet challenge. We cannot hear your question.
Could you type it in the comment, perhaps?
Can you type your question in? Thank you so much. Apostle, can you type in your question? We can't hear you.
Sexuality question.
Go ahead.
Sexuality. The program makes it quite clear concerning like the homosexual and the lesbian trouble that we have today. Does the program clarify the difference of abnormal and normal behavior? Because both of them are teaching. The predator, as a lesbian or homosexual, is teaching whatever their subject matter is. And then the normal person who's a pedophile is teaching their position. So I wanted to know whether or not there's a clarity there in the courses, because that for me, that's mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. We have no research on that. We just know that sexual abuse doesn't discriminate. And sometimes it can cause confusion as a child gets older, especially if one has been raped by the same sex. It may cause some confusion as they mature. Was this okay? Was this normal? Is this the way it's supposed to be? Which is exactly why we need to teach adults how to protect children from this. So this does not happen, because it can cause confusion. It can, it absolutely can. And I've heard from male survivors who were raped by males as a child. And then it confused them as they went through their life. What is meant to be, is what is okay, what is appropriate. And so this is why it is vitally important that all children are protected and their innocence is protected for as long as possible. Because let me tell you something, if they are sexually assaulted as a child by the same sex or by a person in a position of trust, it will cause all sorts of sexual problems in their adulthood, beginning with, what is okay and what's not okay. And, is it okay to have sex with the same gender? And confusion. It can also confuse their manhood, especially male survivors. Why didn't I stop it? Why couldn't I have protected myself? We know males are the protectors. We know that. It's that little boys grow up, they're supposed to be the protectors. And I can tell you, if they are raped as little children and used for sexual pleasure, they're going to grow up confused, angry. And the same. So we know that according to research, 25% of people who harm children are females. We know that through research. So I think we can all agree that one child abuse is way too many. And as Dr. McMillan said, we have to do everything we can to protect little children and their innocence, because it will confuse them as it may confuse, what sex was really meant as they get older, what it was meant to be between two consenting adults. Never with the child.
Just let me add one more thing. I agree with you when you said that the male are the protectors. I think that should be in the course also, so that, it's a tremendous program. It's wonderful. And what you just said, male protectors, that is key. And it's if from childhood that is understood, it makes your whole program and the results more, available. It will happen. It will happen.
Yeah, and Dr. McMillan, males are the protector, and that is very important. And they need, and as you said, they have to know that. But also remember, this program is not a program that SCARS developed. I can't change it. This is a program that Darkness to Light developed. It's their program, and we have to, go by the way their standard, what they do.
Understood. Thank you. Great.
All right. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much to all of you for being with us to the very, very end. I don't know, Dave, have any comment? So I see he's still on. Dave, do you have one last statement you'd like to give before we end? And we leave to enjoy the remaining of our Sunday. Over to the one and only Miss David Williams. And once again, thank you, Ms. Rivers. Thank you, Ms. Powell.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for taking the opportunity to tuning in today. That's all I wanted to do, is just thank everyone for the opportunity to tune in and encourage them to have a wonderful Sunday afternoon.
Bye, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye.
Okay, bye.